And therefore, this particular conference provides you an opportunity to look at the progress that union have been able to make, to look at issues of policy in the education sector, and also chart a course that will guide the incoming leadership. Let me use this opportunity again to appreciate the outgoing leadership for building a solid foundation on the foundation that the forefathers have built. And I can see clearly that the union is moving from strength to strength. One important issue that we must hold very dear in any organization is the issue of peace and understanding. That is the strength of every union. Any union that has peace, you can see progress is being made. The interests of the members will be protected, and they will continue to build from strength to strength. Let me also emphasize this point, that in every society you see progress and development, they are able to build strong institutions. Strong institutions are the pillars of democracy. We need strong, independent institutions to be able to build our democracy and also build our economy and also build our society. This is what our politician doesn't want. If you have strong unions, you have strong institutions, you are certain that you are going to have a better society. I have looked around the world, and particularly in the context of trade unions, the 8 best countries in the world have the strongest trade unions in the world. And that privilege, I was able to get through with it because of the fact that I now represent the workers of the world. Germany, one of the best economies in the world, have one of the strongest affiliates. GDP, they have 14 million members. American Federation of Labor, one of the strongest unions also in the world, 12 million members. Japanese Union, Rengo, our counterpart, also 10 million members. Canada Labour Congress, the same thing. But in Nigeria, every day is about undermining the interest and strength of stronger institutions. Then how can we make progress? And that's why I cherish the fact that you are building a stronger union. We must have a stronger education sector for our economy to make progress. We must have institutions that can be able to make research. We must have institutions where we celebrate our technologies, we celebrate our academy, because that's the best way to go. Now we are in the age of knowledge driving the process. We are speaking today when the world GDP, 15% of the world GDP is driven by technology. And therefore, your profession will play an important role going forward into the digital world. You occupy a very important space that we need to continue to guide and celebrate. In fact, in the next dispensation, we are told that even vehicles are going to be driven through technology. And I don't know what we'll do as a country that over-relies on one commodity, oil and gas. Possibly we'll be drinking our resources at the end of the day. Comrades, and that's why I'm very, very interested, and that's why I'm here personally, to continue to encourage you and continue to demand that we must continue to build strong unions. Solidarity is what keeps us together. And therefore, if we cannot extend solidarity to one another, to other affiliates, to the working class struggle, then we are not yet there. And I want to appreciate the fact that in every action that the working class have taken, NAT have been there to represent your interests and the interests of the working class. Every struggle, and I know we have many, many struggles, from the issues of good governance to the struggle for minimum wage, for the issues of judicial autonomy as part of strengthening our democracy, transparency. All of this struggle, your union have been there standing. And not only standing, also payment of the affiliation, which we have had from the president. I want this tradition to continue, and I want us to surpass whatever record that you have been able to set, because that is what is going to guarantee our freedom, is going to guarantee our prosperity as a country. Today, when you look at the situation of our country, we no longer have what we call middle class. I remembered in the past, in fact, when we are growing up, we know that there is 3 levels, 3 layers of people in our country. You have the top echelon, you have the middle class, and then you have the lower class. And we know that time that average civil servant or average workers are within the middle class. You are sure when you graduate you can have a house, you will have a car, You will have a car loan, and you are happy, and you are contented. All of those gains have gone because of the covetousness of our political elites. They will serve for 4 years. They want severance package that is not commensurate to anything. It has no bearing whatsoever with the rules and procedures. Somebody will serve in a very lucrative office for 4 or 8 years. Yet, if you look at his severance package, we that have worked for 30 years, 35 years in service, 60 years of age, yet you go year in, year out, you will not have your benefit. That's a society that is unequal. It's a society that the poverty that is ravaging us will continue to expand. And that is what we want to stop. That is what we are preaching. We cannot have peace in our country if all of these vices are not addressed. Because the foundation of peace is equity, justice, fairness, and good governance. When you have fairness and good governance, there will be peace. Everybody will be happy. And everybody will be contented. Our youth will be employed. Because the issue of Nigeria is not essentially about resources. When you read the report of NIETI, billions of naira that is stolen on annual basis from undeclared sale of crude oil, or where in some cases the crude oil is stolen, unaccounted for, is so humongous that we should not be lamenting about resources. We have brought to the table issue of the stamp duty, where every transaction above 1,000 naira, some money is deducted from your account. Nobody has accounted for it up till now. And year in, year out, the deduction is going on. So our problem is multifaceted. And that's why on a daily basis, you see new waves of crime. And insecurity have become the order of the day. We cannot make progress if all of us don't speak out and also provide solution. And therefore, this particular conference yet provides us an opportunity to interrogate those issues of development, those issues that have impeded on our development. Because many countries that we started together, they have gone far beyond us. We know the story of Singapore. No resources, but yet the leading economy in the world. Even the story of China. China have linked research from the universities to the progress they are making. All the research that is being done to actually measure their progress and also go into the future is from universities. Any research from the university, they will then go and implement it. And therefore, there is synergy between economic development and also the research from the academia. This is what is lacking. Every policy that we are going to chunk out usually is from the Bretton Woods Institute. What did the World Bank say? What this IMF said? IMF and World Bank are representing a particular interest. They are not representing the interest of the majority of people around the world. And therefore, we must actually look for homegrown solution. And therefore, that homegrown solution can be found in our universities, can be found in research. We must fund research. We must have libraries that can be comparable to all the best libraries around the world. That is the way to go. Because the digital economy, technology, will actually take over the process of driving development and progress and innovation around the world. This is where we are. And therefore, comrades, once again, while saluting the work and the expertise you have brought in despite the challenges, despite the daunting challenges, I know that your contribution to the development of the education sector, and importantly, to teaching and learning in universities, is something that cannot be quantified. And therefore, I want to use this medium to appreciate your wonderful work and urge you to continue to do your best. Because those students are also our children. They are children of our parents, and they are children of our brothers and sisters. Importantly, they are Nigerians. And therefore, in every circumstance, let's try to undermine the challenge and work for the progress of those categories of our youth that will be coming up, and they will require impartation of knowledge, impartation of vision, which is the role you play in our society. Comrades, as I said, that the cardinal principle of any union is first and foremost the protection of the rights and privileges of its members. And I can say with nostalgia that the unions in the education sector, including NAT, have been playing that role very effectively. You have also gone beyond that to actually interrogate issues of policy and issues of the decisions that in some cases our political elites take. Whether those decisions are decisions that can also take us to the next level, or they are decisions also that will actually stall our development. So clearly speaking, I want to really on behalf of also the working class, continue to encourage you to continue to play this very important role of advancing research, advancing teaching, and advancing learning in our universities and also in other educational institutions. I can say also that the success of TETFund in Nigeria today cannot be complete without the role being played by the unions in the academic institutions, particularly ASU and other institutions, because it is to their credit and to their also credit that we had today TETFund as one of the very important institutions that is supporting teaching and learning in Nigeria. And I'm happy that the ES have been invited, and he will be the guest speaker to also give us a perspective of the challenge and where we need to go to. I will not end this address without also repeating what the President has said about the problem of insecurity in our country. And I want to actually use this medium and forum also to convey our condolences and also our sympathy to the good people and government of Borno State. Yesterday, most of us read that on Sunday, along the highway, in fact, I was surprised when I saw the delegates from University of Maiduguri here this morning, that on Sunday, along the Maiduguri-Damaturu highway, in fact, just 25 kilometers from Maiduguri, a very important town, Auno, was attacked. And over 30 people were killed. And most of them were commuters, because by 4 p.m., the gate into the city center will be closed. So commuters will be forced to actually sleep overnight in that particular town. And this is the 6th time that Boko Haram have been attacking that town from 2019 to date, the 6th time. And when I saw the governor actually shouting, and also the passion and the resilience is something that actually needed our support. In fact, I remembered one story that was shared to us in years past by one of the founding presidents of NLC, Alhaji Adi Chiroma, the second president. He was saying that there was an issue that occurred between a husband and a wife. And suddenly the wife grabbed the center of gravity of the man. And people didn't know what was happening. And the man was shouting, "Help, help, help." And people came in and said, "Be a man. Why should you be crying in front of your wife?" He said, "No, I'm crying because what made me a man is already in the hand of the woman. So I'm no longer the man that you think I am." So clearly speaking, I can understand why the governor had been shouting, because he said, put a security post in Auno, because that is the only major axis. It's a federal highway into Maiduguri. And this is the 6th time he is saying that, and nobody has cared. So how can we address those security challenges? It will only rely on one source of information. That is the, no, the citizens need to be also, their side of the story need to be heard. Especially the security officers of the state, the chief security officer of the state, his own side of the story also need to be heard for us to have a holistic approach to addressing this challenge. So clearly speaking, comrades, it's not a good story because apart from the about 30 people that have been killed, also a lot of women and children were actually taken hostage, apart from also the wealth of people that have been destroyed. So certainly I think we need a new strategy. And you can see from one part of the country to another, there is no part of the country that you will not find one security challenge. In some part of the country, it's kidnapping for ransom. You are walking on the road, you are kidnapped. In some part of the country, it's just attack and destroying and killing of people and also destroying the property of people. So this is not a situation that we will take lightly. It's a situation that will continue to make the clarion call that what needs to be done should be done. And therefore, this whole story of sympathy and also saying that we are on course, I think with what is happening, it's clear that we are not on course and we need a new strategy. So I think our hearts, our sympathy should go with the families and those people that have lost their loved ones. And importantly, some of our students also were adopted. I have the record of also students that are trying to resume in the University of Maiduguri because it's a federal highway. Some of them also were adopted. And up to now, nobody knows where they are. So clearly speaking, I think it's a very dangerous trend. If we are able to end the civil war, which started in 1967, and it ended in 1970, this issue of insurgency started in 2009. And today, we are in 2020. Yet we couldn't actually put it to an end. I think there is a problem and we need to look at it because the issue is really, really affecting many communities, many lives, and many people. Nobody is actually safe in this type of situation. And that's why even flights, for you to book your flight to Maiduguri, maybe you have to do it within a week, because all the elites now are now flying. It's only the poor and the vulnerable that is actually on the road. And therefore our country has been desecrated with the blood of the innocent, because all those people being killed are innocent. They are innocent, they don't know what is happening, nobody knows what is happening, and they are killed. And therefore the land has been desecrated with the blood of the innocent. So clearly speaking, we cannot speak and conclude an address without also calling the attention of the various agencies of government, the presidency, to the issue of insecurity in our country, so that we can be able to make sure that this is brought to an end. We want an end to this issue of insecurity. Yes, it's also an issue that is affecting those communities, but we must actually find an end, because we know where they are located. It's not that nobody knows where they are. People know where they are located, and they are operating from those locations to come and hit soft target and still go back. They operated from 9:30 p.m. to about 1 in the night, and no confrontation. Nothing happened until they finished, adopted people, left, and then we are now coming back to lament. So clearly, comrades, I want to once again thank you immensely for this conference, and I urge that the process of the conference should be rancor-free. I know your union to be a union that is well respected. You respect rules, procedures, and also you have done your things in a way and manner that portray you as a union that have developed to this level. Election should not be a do or die like politicians, although sometimes politicians import some of these bad practices into our movement, but we should do away with it and insist that election should not be a do or die. It should be consensus. And I like the adage of one of our unions, National Union of Road Transport Workers. When you say up national, they say progress. And you say, when they say it, turn by turn, and what is tire roll, they say driver chop. Everything, they say turn by turn. They say everything. So even in that union, they recognize the fact that everything is turn by turn. So once again, comrade, I wish you a very successful conference. I wish you a very safe journey home. And I'm happy and delighted to see all of you radiating. Thank you for the good work, and continue to represent the interests of this union. Solidarity.